understand how your brand is perceived by these users, whether that be on your website in testimonials or case studies, or outside your website on Reddit threads or YouTube. But knowing what people are talking about your brand, how they're talking about you, and making sure you own that kind of narrative is super, super important for making sure your brand is well optimized for the AI models. I'm Jon Mest, and this is SEO in 2026.
Jon, what's your number one SEO tip for 2026?
My number one SEO tip for 2026 is that user intent matters more than ever in AI search.
User intent matters more than ever in AI search. So how do you determine what the user intent is in AI search?
Yeah, so much of traditional SEO is about, building your backlink profile, making sure that other well-reputable sites reference you and make sure that other people say that you are who you are and you are authoritative. That still matters. But more so than ever, when the AI thinks about who to recommend as a brand, they really care about real, actual humans saying you are a good brand. And so that is things such as Reddit, that is things such as Quora, YouTube comments. It includes case studies, user testimonials, review sites. Those all really matter to the AI when they think about how should you be referenced as a brand.
Okay, and does it have to be specific users? I would imagine that they're wanting to type users who are going to be likely to use your product, use your service, and hopefully tie that up with an audience that matches who your entity is and what it represents.
Absolutely. When you do things such as searching into a ChatGPT or a tool like that, I'm looking for a recommendation for, a database, or I'm looking for a pizzeria down the street that I can go to for dinner tonight. They're going to make references to, is your database good? Is your pizza good? Like they're going to actually have to use information that really matters to, is it going to be a good experience? And should they recommend the brand? But more so than ever in AI search, people actually going into Yelp and TripAdvisor and other places and saying your pizzeria is good, or people going to G2 and saying your software is good, that really matters. Reddit threads that talk about kind of like why your database is excellent for working with certain kinds of companies, those really do matter to AI when they make their recommendations, more so than ever, and even more so recently as these new models have been rolled out through the different platforms.
So does this apply to every type of brand? Because obviously some brands are probably more likely to receive lots of different testimonials. I'm thinking of maybe if you're buying products for your home, maybe a new mattress or something like that, then you're more likely to actually type in a review for that online. But perhaps if you're in B2B scenario, then you're unlikely to broadcast what you think of maybe a particular SaaS tool. Maybe some people are, I'm not sure. But what happens if you're operating in an industry that it's more challenging to get that kind of user interaction going?
Yeah, the first thing I always recommend is, can you get your customers to give you that testimonial or that kind of bubble you can use on your website to promote your brand? Those are always ideal because those kind of, again, give that kind of social proof that your brand is doing very well with a real human and a real customer that can attest to that. Now, I will say there's also little tricks you can use as well for that. So planting that information, not just on like your homepage, but also on certain types of content pages can really help. Aligning that messaging to who you are as a brand overall can really be effective. I'll give you a quick example. When you go into a ChatGPT or Perplexity and ask for it, looking for a certain type of database, they will often say, we recommend X database because customers A, B, and C really like them, and you're a similar company to A, B, and C. That really matters. They'll find those companies A, B, and C and reference them because they are on your About Us page or they're on your product pages. So it's not just about having the testimonial, having it out there. It's aligning that to your messaging, to your information in a cohesive way. And so that is kind of the best brands are really winning by doing that effectively.
So will AI search engines incorporate something like a testimonial within the results? Or are you simply saying that if you incorporate a testimonial on your website, if you have positive reviews on sites like Quora, then you're more likely to get your content from your website, excluding testimonials, surfaced on AI search engines?
It's both. More so than ever now, AI search engines are returning things like YouTube videos as answers to questions. Those oftentimes are user testimonials or product reviews or things like that actually seem to really matter because, again, it is user-generated content, not even made necessarily by yourself, but by a potential user or somebody else. So that really does matter, as well as kind of talking about yourself can really help as well. So it really is a combination of both.
So how does a brand decide where to hopefully encourage their customers to write some kind of review or testimonial? Is something submitted to them and incorporated on their website always best? Is it sometimes best to perhaps even include it on Google reviews or the other sites that you recommended there as well? So how do you go about identifying that ideal platform to use?
An excellent question, and something that a lot of our brands struggle to understand. Yes, Google reviews matter, and the sites that you would think would matter probably do matter. But the number one thing that you can do as a brand to figure that out is go to the AI search engines. Go to Claude, go to Perplexity, go to ChatGPT. Type in, I am such and such brand. I do this thing. I'm really trying to grow my presence, and I want my user testimonials and my customers to really speak highly of me, like in the right places. What types of sites or what types of review sites, where are you getting information to recommend customers to something like my service? Now, it's not going to guarantee you that they're going to necessarily lead to a sale from that point, but the AI search engines will often tell you, actually, we love this site because they seem to be highly authentic. This site does a great job at taking out spammy results. And so we really trust this site. And those sites might be very different than what you might expect. I see this all the time for our businesses where we are looking at, oh, I thought this type of review site would be most effective, but actually it's this random page that I'd never heard of before. If my brand is not there, it's not going to be mentioned because they just really trust their reviews and their site. And so we've identified those for ourselves. We've reached out to those review sites and other places to make sure that they have an authentic view to who we are as a brand. And it's really done amazing work for us. And we recommend it to all of our customers as well. You don't need a special software to do that. Just need to go into an AI search engine and try to find what those sites are and just hustle a little bit and see if you can get yourself posted into those other areas.
I love that piece of advice because obviously you forget sometimes that you can actually interact with AI as well, and AI will tell you how it actually operates and what you can do to be more effective in terms of getting your brand more prominent and more visibility, more testimonials, different elements like that within the AI search results. What about reaching out to customers themselves? I think that's the tough part, and that's perhaps more of a traditional marketing type question, but we've all experienced brands reaching out to us at the wrong moment, perhaps if we've bought something before we've even received the product or service, or perhaps too late, or maybe asking us to jump through too many hoops to provide a testimonial. So when do you know when the right point is to reach out to a customer to ask for a testimonial? How do you do it in a manner that makes the testimonial still seem fairly genuine to the consumer? And any other tips that you have in relation to that?
Yeah, I'm going to give a slightly annoying answer, which is that it really depends on your business. So for us as a software vendor, for our businesses, we always wait at least a month after somebody signs up to even ask the question. If you ask them sooner than that, they might be really happy, they might be really sad, but they haven't really given it a chance to understand, is this working for them or not? And so we give them at least a month to understand, okay, I feel good about this. I feel like I can give a positive or negative review about what your service is, what you're doing, and I can feel confident that that's going to give us enough time. If you're delivering, a more of a consumer item, something like that, it might truly be at the point of receiving the item. You really want to know in that moment, if it's say a luxury item or an excitement item, you really want to know, did it work? Is this really exciting or kind of happy for them? And you want that review right away. And so it really depends on the business. I'd say you know your business better than anybody. You generally know when people reach out to you and say they're upset or that they're really happy. Use that as a guide to understand when you should be using to that reach out. You are right, brands can get this very wrong. I actually hate when I sign up for a software and within 5 minutes of signing up, they say, well, do you like it? And I say, I don't know. I'm not going to give you a review now. That doesn't make any sense to me. I just signed up. I need some time to really review it and keep an honest assessment of do I like it or not? And so you know your brand better than anybody. Really kind of take the time to think about that. Use the experience you've had from previous customers that have given you that negative or positive experience, and then use that to guide your decision making.
And is it quality or quantity of reviews? Because we've seen websites with tens of thousands of reviews, and you can see so many people have given something an X-star rating, but it's also nice sometimes to read about a brand, about a product, about a service that doesn't necessarily have full 5 stars ratings, that perhaps just has 10 reviews, but the reviews are all fairly extensive and realistic, not just sharing all positives. So what are your thoughts on the number of testimonials or reviews and how to actually encourage customers to perhaps write a little bit more as well as just give a star rating?
Absolutely. And so for us, this is really, really, really important because text and intent of the review and what they're saying matters more than anything else. And so if you have one really strong, positive, well thought out review from a customer that really gave it deep thought and really felt the need to kind of explain themselves, whether that is on a traditional review site like a G2 or like a Trustpilot, or it's just, on a Reddit thread where they say, hey, nobody's asking me to do this. I just really like this brand and I want to tell you about why this is really working for me in my business. Like all that really matters if they can give you exact specific details as to why that is. It's great customer service. It's a great product. It's really, really good value, whatever that might be, kind of honing in on what those things are and really aligning that kind of information to what you want to be as a brand. So if you start seeing all the reviews are talking about how you're so great at customer service, amazing. You're probably going to rank pretty well for customer service. But now it's opportunity to say, okay, well, nobody's really talking about how good my product is. Maybe my customer service is so good because I keep having issues, people reaching out to me and they're getting good customer service, but my product isn't as good as it needs to be. So I need to up my product a little bit so I can get people to start saying how amazing my product is and my customer service is good. And so using this information really helps guide you as a brand. But at the same time, you can absolutely use that to kind of to your advantage to make sure that this intent of the actual words of the conversations people are having, again, whether it's on a traditional review site like a G2 or a Yelp or a TripAdvisor, or it is actually like written in a Reddit thread, making sure that that aligns to what you want to be as a brand. And if not, obviously actively working to make sure that you're improving yourself to make sure that you are actively aligning to what you want to be aligned to.
And how important is age of reviews? Because even if you've got great reviews, if they're all 5 years old, then many people are going to think, okay, well, what's going on here? Why doesn't that brand have any reviews that are a little bit more up to date? So do you have to have some kind of procedure in place to encourage customers to review, to write a review so that you end up with a review at least once a month or so?
There's no set exact answer to that question, but I will say that yes, recency does really matter. The AI models want to know that not only are you a good company, but you're a good company now, that I can recommend to you confidently for somebody that wants to have an answer to this question right now. And so I don't know if there's an exact number per month, but absolutely. If your last review was 5 years ago and you can't, for whatever reason, get more people to write your reviews, then that is the time to start engaging on Reddit, on Quora, on YouTube, on TikTok, on any other place you can to find ways to interact with, again, real user humans, real people that are using your products. Again, whether they're consumer, whether they're a software, it doesn't really matter. The idea here being that you need to find a way to engage with people that can give you that intent that you are a good brand and can give you that social proof that the AI models need to say that you have the authority to make the claims that you're making. Again, without the traditional backlink profile of what a Google would look at to like say, oh, well, Forbes or the New York Times says you're good. Okay, you're good. I don't have to worry about anything anymore. With AI, they actually care less about that and more about what people in the New York Times or Forbes are saying about you, again, or what the actual human user that has used your product is saying in a Reddit thread about your topic.
And is text enough, or does video work a lot more effectively nowadays?
Things are changing so quickly, it's hard to know. I mean, I know you're going to be posting this video in a little bit, but essentially, yes, video does really matter. If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd say no, not nearly as much. But now you'd be surprised. We're seeing customers that are out there doing podcasts like this that are getting posted to YouTube, and they're getting those answers to like when somebody asks in ChatGPT about a certain topic, the actual podcast interview that's on YouTube was being cited as a reason why I should use their tool. Hey, I mean, that's just a guy talking about his brand on a very casual podcast, but that YouTube video clearly had enough information in it in the transcription or wherever, like in the comments that kind of led to the AI model saying, hey, actually, this is a really good idea. This is exactly what you should be looking for. Here's why. And here's a 15-minute video to listen to with why. So video really does matter. Again, it doesn't have to necessarily be in the review format that you might be like kind of used to from like a Google review or like just a product review on your website. It really can be any sort of, user-generated content outside of your four walls or in your four walls that really kind of add to that complexity of your brand.
And as well as something that's obviously positive for your brand, for hopefully incorporating more elements as part of AI search engine results, this also sounds like something that could improve reputation SEO, good reputation management. Does this also help with that?
Absolutely. So this is something that absolutely plays into kind of the broader scheme of like, how do I make sure my brand is well visible in AI and everywhere else? Like this reputation really does matter. And so again, there's no exact algorithm for how OpenAI or Perplexity or Anthropic kind of think about these things. What we can say for sure is that we know that they're using it because they're citing it. They're telling us this is what they're using to give you that authority. I gave you the example before, but I'll kind of reiterate a different one. But if you go to a Google Gemini or a ChatGPT and you say, hey, like I'm looking for this type of product. Please like give me some examples and also tell me why it'd be work well for me. is persona driven. Like the AI model knows who you are generally, depending on the model. And they're going to be able to say, oh, we know you run a software business. So other people that run software businesses really like this product because it really does well for that software business. Amazing. Like it's going to know that about you and use that as like in a way to provide authority to the brand to say, okay, they're not just good at doing what they do. They're really good at doing what they do for your exact persona. That is really, really powerful. That's really hard to get right in Google, traditional search in Google, to be able to kind of persona drive your content to the right people. Because again, that's like you're matching keywords, but like the AI does an incredible job at kind of understanding who you are and making sure you're getting fed the right answers to the right content. Again, being answer engines really gives them that flexibility to do that. Now, you as a brand need to make sure you're well optimized for your target personas. And I say that like it's easy. It's not, by the way. It's very challenging. And it's something that we do a lot with our customers at ChatRank. But basically, that is like the number one thing you can be doing is you know who your customer is. You need to make sure that your brand is front and center and well represented and has a good authority and reputation score for that exact user to make sure when they go and do the research in ChatGPT or others that you are popping up as the best answer for that query.
John, what's the key takeaway from the tip you shared today?
The key takeaway for this tip is really to understand how your brand is perceived by these users, whether that be on your website in testimonials or case studies, or outside your website on Reddit threads or YouTube. But knowing what people are talking about your brand, how they're talking about you, and making sure you own that kind of narrative is super, super important for making sure your brand is well optimized for the AM.
Jon Mest is the CEO at Just Reach Out and ChatRank. Find out more over at chatrank.ai and justreachout.io. John, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2026.
Thanks as always, David.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2026, the book, over at SEOin2026.com.